What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make an amazing character controller in Unity. So let's jump right into it. Before we get started, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel. Okay, so we're now on a new Unity project. So I'm not showing my camera here in the screen anywhere because I want you guys to be able to see the entire screen, so my face isn't obscuring anything that you may or may not want to see. So now since we're here, this is the layout I like to have. I like to have my game showing up down here. Up here is my scene where I work with. Then of course over here is my hierarchy, project, and down here is my console when I get like bugs, or not really bugs, but I should say like errors and stuff. And this is like my inspector tool and such. So first things first, I'm gonna go to hierarchy, I'm gonna right click. We want to create a 3D object. We're gonna create a terrain. I'm going to call the terrain ground. I'm going to right click again in the hierarchy, create an empty. I'm going to call this core. We're going to drag both the main camera and directional light into core. Then we're going to right click here, 3D object, capsule. We're going to call this player. I'm going to drag you up to core. Okay, let's reset the transform on core. Reset transform on main camera. Directional light's fine. So we're gonna find where player is. Okay, so it's right here. Drag you down there. Wait, is the camera not coming with? Oh, yeah, it's moving the player. My bad. So we're gonna grab core, drag you down there, go over there, bring you down this way. Let's go a little closer to you. Okay, yeah, so that is where our player is and stuff. So now we're going to get to the scripting part of this. So I'm going to right click under project. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this scripts. Now under scripts, I'm going to create C#. I'm going to call it player, if I can spell player right, controller. Okay. We're going to open that up as soon as it loads. Awesome. So this is what we're working with. I'm using Visual Studio. I'm not using Visual Studio Code. I know a lot of people use Visual Studio Code. I just don't like it. I've tried it before. I'm just used to Visual Code. Not Visual Code. I'm used to Visual Studio. So this is what we're going to work with. So we're going to get rid of starts because we do not need that right now. I'm going to keep update because we're going to use that in a second. But first things first, we want to create a couple fields. So first things first, we're going to do a serialized field. Reason why we use serialized field is because I want to keep these private. So private, it just keeps in the one script, so only the one script calls it. And serialized field allows us to see it in the inspector, which I will show you once we get that far with what I mean. And with coding, I like to do it one step at a time, because if we do one little chunk and test it and something's not working, it's a lot easier to troubleshoot what's going on than if we do absolutely everything and we go in and things are broken and we're like, we have no idea where we're going to look at first because things are broken, you know? So just a lot easier troubleshooting wise if you do one step at a time. So first things first, we're going to do the walking. So we're going to do a float, walking, speed, equal 5.0f. Reason why we do the dot zero is because it's a float, and we have to do the f for the float. If it was an int, we do not do the dot zero because it's just a whole number, and we wouldn't add an f either. So, for example, if this was an integer, we just do int walking speed equals 5, and then obviously semicolon, and then that would be it. Okay, so that's it for that part. Now, we are going to go down here, do a private, vector3. We are going to call it move direction. I want to do a nice little space. I like to have a space between these, so if something's new, like serialized fields, I would have them stacked up here. but I like to have a space between stuff that's separate. It's just easier readability for me, at least. I assume it would be the same with you, but obviously I could be wrong. Okay, so we're gonna go to void update. Now I'm gonna type out movement. Reason why we're doing that is because this is gonna be its own function. So in order to extract this method, we're gonna do a shortcut, Control dot on the keyboard. We're gonna do a generate method, and it makes its own right here. So I want to call it movement, which is the reason why we did that. So from here, we are going to make a float. We're gonna call it move x. Make it equal input dot get access horizontal. Now I like to add comments so it's easier for me to read with what's going on. Actually, first of all, with the update comment, we don't need that because update is self-explanatory. But for here, I'm gonna add a comment, just write left and right. Do a float, move z equals input dot get access. It's vertical. Another comment, forward and backward. So as you see here, the 2 slashes represents it's a comma. So anything after that is common territory. So that's also why it shows green. So just the code doesn't really pick up on that. So your code will not know the difference. And here's a fun fact. If you were to do 1/ asterisk and then go down here, asterisk, close slash, right? Another slash. All this in here would be a comment. So the two slashes is just the 1 line, right? Anything after that, just 1 line. But if you want to do more than 1 line, a lot easier doing it like this. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that. Just figured I'd show you guys, just in case you didn't know. Okay, so now we are going to do, do transform dot translate move direction times walking speed times time dot delta time. Oh, wait, no. I'll do a semicolon. Okay, awesome. All right, so in here, reason why we want to do this, so transform dot translate. So move direction, which is taking your vector 3 up here, move direction. We're going to multiply it by the walking speed, which is up here. And then there's time dot delta time down here. Reason why we use time dot delta time at the end is because if you do not use time dot delta time when you are in your game world itself, it'll generate by how many frames. Basically, your speed will represent how many frames your computer is outputting. So it's never the same. So if I was doing 300 FPS on my computer and you're doing 100, I'm going to move a lot faster than you will if I'm not using time dot delta time. So time dot delta time basically just makes it how we actually want it to be, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to go down here. We're going to do move direction equals transform dot right times move x plus transform dot, no, spelled transform wrong, transform dot forward. Where's the asterisk? Times move z. Okay, so that's what you want to do here. Sorry about that, guys. So we want to take this. I was an idiot. We want that red before that line of code, because obviously this is move direction. Yeah, so that is how we want to do it. So now we're going to save. I'm going to go in here. Want to go to core. You want to drag our player controller in there. See, this is why I had a serialized field, because serialized field shows our speed in here. And if you did not want it to be 5, you're like, hey, that's too slow. Or if it's even too fast, you can either lower it or raise it in here. But what I would recommend, if you picked a number in here that represents a different number in your code, I'd recommend going back in here real quick and changing this to represent what that shows. Just helps you down the line. Alright, so I'm going to raise this up here. Press play. Awesome. So we're not moving. Now, if you're in game and you want this faster, I can go over there, put that as 10. Right, now we're back in here. Right, we're moving a lot faster. But I will say though, any changes you make in here while you're in game, remember what it is. Because as soon as we exit out, it brings it back to what it was originally. So, but if I were to make the change now to 10 here, now I'm out of it. I go back in. We're still at 10. If we were to stop, it still shows 10. So that's the reason why you want to remember it. Because otherwise it's going to get rid of it if you don't. Okay, so now we got our walking speed all set. Next thing we want to do is going to be your sprinting. So, want to do a serialize field. Want to make that into a float. Sprinting speed equals 10.0f. I like to have sprinting double the speed of your walking. For me, it just makes the most sense. So that's what I'm gonna do. So okay, cool. So now I'm gonna go back to movement. We're gonna make some changes down here. So down here, what we're going to do, I'm gonna add a comment. Check if the shift key is held down for sprinting. Okay, now we're gonna do an if statement. So if input dot get key code dot left shift curly brace. Okay. Now here, I'm gonna just do another quick code, sprinting movement. So honestly, it's the same thing as this. So if we're gonna take this, we're gonna copy you, put you here. Only difference is, right here, we're gonna do sprinting speed. If I can spell sprinting right. There we go. Okay, now we're gonna do else. I'm gonna call it walking movement. Go down here. Okay, so this represents if we're gonna sprint. This represents if we're not sprinting. Now we're gonna get rid of this. We don't need you anymore. Move direction. I'm going to control X you to cut you out. Put you up here. Okay. So this should be our sprinting now. So we're going to save. Actually, we're going to do real quick. I'm going to do a quick debug.log. I'm sprinting. Hang on. Debug.log. I'm walking. Alright, so we're going to press play on you. Well, I'm not actually walking, but okay. Alright, well, we're gonna get rid of that then. Hang on. Take you out of here. That's right, because it is under else, so it wasn't really picking up anything. Alright, we're just gonna keep on sprinting then. So we're good. Yep, I'm sprinting. Stop. Yep. See down here? This is good for the debugs, because down here, this is what I'm seeing. Right, I'm walking, I'm sprinting. See, this is 557. It hit 567 times. If I hold the shift key, yep, it keeps adding up. Stop. Adding up. Stop. Adding up. Stop. Awesome. So sprinting works, and honestly, I did see my movement move a lot faster anyways. So, we can go to view now. Awesome. Okay. So, the next thing I'm going to do is jumping. So in here, add another serialize field. We're going to add a float. We're going to call this jump height equals 5.0f. Okay. So actually, before we get into jump height, before we do the jumping, let's go in here real quick. Let's go to our core. Let's add a component. Rigid body. Reason why I want the rigid body is for gravity. Gravity purposes, because you're jumping. So in here, we're going to add a constraint. We're going to freeze the rotation in the X, Y, and the Z axis. Reason why, because if we're jumping and we hit something, our capsule here is going to tilt and roll over and stuff. We don't want that. So that's why we're freezing the X, the Y, and the Z axis. Okay, now we're going to go back in here now. So we're good. Let's go down here. Let's add a private, because we got to grab the rigid body component. Rigid body, we're going to call it RB. Now under update, we want to, oh wait, no, not update. I'm an idiot. We want to do this under start. So now we're grabbing start. We want to do RB equals get components, because we want to grab the component of the rigid body. Okay, so that part's good. Now what we're going to want to do, go back down to movement. We're going to want to go here. Do an if statement. So if input dot get key down. We're going to do key code dot space. Oh, wait a minute. Forgot one thing. Actually, I'll edit after this. End is grounded. Okay, we're going to go up here real quick because I forgot to add that bool. We're adding a boolean is grounded equals true. Because we're always on the ground, which is why it is grounded. So now we're going to go down here. Now when we do that, we want to jump. Hang on. Okay. We want to extract that. Awesome. Okay. So, now what we're going to do, we're going to do this function to apply the jump height. Awesome. We're going to get rid of that. Now what we're going to want to do, we're going to call the rigid body. So RB dot add force vector 3 dot up times jump height, comma, force mode dot impulse. Then we're going to do is grounded. equals false. Reason why we're also using is grounded as well is because you'll see in a minute, because we only want to be able to jump once. We don't want to jump multiple times in the air. So basically, we hit the space key only if we're on the ground. If we're in the air anywhere, we can't hit the space key to keep infinitely jumping. Reason why we're doing the Boolean with is grounded. It'll definitely help. Alright, so next thing we're going to do. We got to add a collision. So we're going to do on collision enter. Hang on, gotta make you a private. Okay. Actually, no, we're not gonna add a, you know what? Yeah, I will. Check if the player is on the ground. So I'm gonna do a for each. It's a for each loop. So contact point, contact in collision dot contacts. If contact dot normal dot y is greater than 0.5 f, is grounded equals true. Then we're gonna break it. Okay, so now we're gonna get out of this, go down to here. So we're gonna do here, detect when the player is off the ground. We're gonna do a void, no, not void. We're gonna do a, hang on, private void on collision exit. From here, go there. Player is no longer on the ground. Yeah, so this just helps me when I'm reading this, going back and reading this to see what I did prior, and basically, so it basically helps me understand what was done. So if I'm going back to this code at any point in the future, I just know what's happening, you know? So that's why I like to add a lot of comments. You probably will too. There may be some comments in here you're like, Nick, I don't need this. Don't add it. You don't need to. It is what I like to do. So I'm gonna save. Go back in here. Okay, so press play. Awesome. Do jump. See, only jumping once. I'm sure you guys can hear my space key constantly pressed because I have a mechanical keyboard. And you're seeing, I'm only jumping once. We're moving, we can jump as we move. Sprint, jump as we sprint. Okay. Now, we got just about everything except for one thing we gotta do now. We gotta add it so the camera moves. So, got a couple things we wanna do now. Gonna go here, add a couple more serialized fields. Serialized field. Want to add a float for mouse sensitivity equals 200.0f. Serialized field. We want to have a transform. We're going to call it player camera. Awesome. Okay, so now under here as well, you want to add a float x rotation equals 0f. When it comes, I know earlier I said with float and stuff, I like to do a dot. You have to do a dot 0 at the end. When it comes to if you're just doing a 0, you don't need to do a dot 0.0. You can if you want, but you do not have to. So I'm not. Okay, so now we're going to go down here to start right here, I'm gonna do a comment. We're gonna lock the cursor to the center of the screen. Under this, we're gonna do cursor dot lock state equals cursor lock mode dot lock. That's what we want. Okay, so now I'm gonna go down here. Their update, we're gonna do mouse look control dot to generate the method. We're gonna control X this to cut it because I want to put you down here. Awesome. Okay, so now here we're gonna add a couple floats. So float mouse X equals input dot get access mouse X times the mouse sensitivity times time dot delta time like always. Before I continue, I want to give you a little challenge. Can you do the one for mouse Y? Alright, welcome back. So I just want to see if you guys could do that. So, very simple. It's a lot like we did with mouse X. So float mouse Y equals input dot get access. Can you guess it? Mouse Y. We're gonna multiply it by the mouse sensitivity times, you guessed it, time dot delta time. Okay. Alright, next things up. Right here, I'm gonna do, make a note for myself, horizontal rotation. Oh wait, I spelled horizontal completely wrong. Hang on. Horizontal, there we go. Transform dot rotate vector 3 dot up times mouse X. Awesome. Okay, so next one, vertical rotation. I'm gonna do X. Hang on. Rotation minus equals mouse Y. X rotation equals math F dot clamp X rotation negative 90.0F 90.0F clamp the rotation to prevent over rotation. So we're gonna do here actually. Right in here, I'm gonna do a hang on. Let's go up here. Let's add a float. X rotation clamp. It's easier for me to understand what this is. Equals 90.0F. Because having numbers like this in code itself is very messy. Yeah, oh, okay, that's what you were telling me. Okay. So we're gonna go in here. Let's go to call it X. Rotation clamp. Negative X. rotation clamp. There we go. Yeah, because otherwise it just makes it messy when it's in the code itself. So just a lot easier if you don't do it that way. Now you can call this whatever you want. I'm calling it X rotation clamp. Now it could be confusing with X rotation, so do that with what you will, but it's just what I'm calling it. So that's completely up to you though. Okay, so do another code, not another code, another comment. Apply the rotation to the camera. Player camera dot local rotation equals quaternion dot Euler X rotation comma 0f 0f. When it comes to zeros, I'm gonna leave it as is. You can call something else if you want, but that's completely up to you. I'm just not for the purpose of this tutorial. So as I said, you can close whatever you want. I'm just not going to do it in this one. Okay, so I'm going to save. Back in here. Wait a minute. Got an error. Ah, semicolon. Forgot to put a semicolon. What's going on, guys? So this is me after the fact. So I finished recording the tutorial. I got it all uploaded, and then as I was playing around in my sandbox, I realized there was actually an issue. So I already had the video uploaded, so the video is still not live yet. This is going to be live in a minute. Well, not in a minute. Well, basically from when you guys see this. So I did not want to basically upload it and be like, oh yeah, that's a great character controller or player controller, and then there's issues. I did not want that. I want to establish trust with you guys, so I'm not putting that part of the video live. This part's gonna be at the very end, obviously, from what you're gonna see. So I want to show you the changes that I did. So first things first, we added. So all right, I'll explain to you what happened. So when I was in here running around, I realized as I was rotating the camera that the player was also not rotating with it. The problem is that as you're rotating, when you're pressing D to go right, sometimes it would go left because the player object's not rotating. Only the camera is, which was the issue. So I went in here. We added this line of code here. So we added a serialized field of the player core as a serialized field. I'll show you why in a minute. We're gonna go down here. I also added a rigid body to freeze a rotation. Now granted, I probably didn't have to do that because in here I forced the rigid body to be frozen anyways at the rotation, the X, Y, and the Z. So it probably didn't matter, but I still added it. So we did that. Go down here now. I also made a change to the movement script right under sprinting and walking. Now going by rigid body as opposed to transform makes it a lot smoother of moving. So I added right here RB, which is our rigid body, as we established up here. So we're gonna go down. We're gonna do RB, which is the rigid body dot velocity equals a new vector 3 move direction dot X times sprinting speed. RB dot velocity dot Y move direction dot Z times the sprinting speed. Gonna go down to walking movement. It's basically the same thing, but except here. So you basically just copy this line of code and then paste it here. And then you can put walking speed as opposed to sprinting speed. And then we're gonna do walking speed down here as opposed to sprinting speed. All right, so now we're gonna go down here. Now the last one we did was go down, add a new line of code right here. Player core dot rotate, which makes the player rotate as the camera's rotating. Vector 3 dot up times mouse X, which is basically this. Okay, yeah, and then that is it. So this is already saved. I'm gonna save it again just in case. We're gonna head on over to the character controller. Now you want to make sure that the player core. So you want to drag this. At first I called it player, but it made no sense because if you were to drag this in there instead, it wouldn't work. You'd be able to boot up the game and stuff, but there's just functionality that won't work. Like when you're looking, you won't look left and right, it'll only look up and down and stuff like that. So you want to drag the core in there, which is why I call this player core. Now if it makes it better for you to understand, to basically know that this is where player core goes, you can always rename your game object to player core if you want, but I'm not. I fully understand what's going on here. So you want to make sure the player core, well, the core is dragged into here, and you want to make sure that your main camera is dragged under player camera. Okay, and then obviously you want your capsule collider, and you want the rigid body attached to core, and then under rigid body you want to make sure that this is all, that the rotation, the X, the Y, and the Z axis are all frozen. And what you want to do, we're going to want to edit the capsule collider, because this would helps you determine what's on the ground and such. We are going to change up the height. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, make the height to that. Perfect. Okay, they were all good. So let's jump in. Do a quick test. Want to look up. Awesome. We can walk, can sprint, right, left, backwards. We rotate. Yep, as we're rotating, we're going the direction we want. Awesome. We can sprint backwards. Can we jump? We can. And we can't jump again until we touch the ground, because as you hear me spamming the space key, we're only jumping once. We're not gonna infinitely jump. And then to back out of this, just so you know, since I have the cursor lock, to back out of this, because you can't just press the plus to back out of this, you want to do Control P on your keyboard to back out of it, to get your mouse back. And yeah, so that is how you make a really good player controller. Alright, so that was the character controller in Unity. If you did anything different than what I showed you here, why don't you go ahead and let me know down below. Please don't forget to click the like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.